Good morning, everyone. We'll get started in just a minute, just letting all the attendees get in. Give it a few minutes before we get started. I'll go over some housekeeping items and we can handle any issues if they come up. But yeah, thank you for joining us this morning. We'll get started in just a second. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar for Lenovo branded products and services request for offer, DIR-CPO-TMP-554. This is the pre-proposal conference. Today is Thursday, May 6th, 10:30 a.m. Let me advance the slides. Some housekeeping notes. If you can hear me, please raise your hand in the Zoom controls. Just want to make a mic check to make sure that I'm coming in loud and clear. I think we look okay. Thank you very much for raising your hands. So all attendees will be muted today. If you have any questions, open up your Q&A panel, not the chat window, the Q&A panel, and you can submit your questions there. We prefer that you submit them anonymously, and we will be going over the questions and answering the questions at the end of today's webinar. We'll make the handouts available in the addendums, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. But yes, just make sure that you open up the Q&A panel to submit your questions, and staff will be answering them at the end. If you have any technical questions, go ahead and post it there too, and we can help resolve anything that you may have. But I think we're okay. And with that, I will pass it off to Doug Leach, and he will introduce our staff and speakers for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. This is Doug Leach. I'll be the procurement lead as well as the lead on this webinar for this Lenovo branded RFO. The panelists today will be Stephanie Harrison. She's the manager of statewide procurements here at DIR. Lynn Hoddy and Teresa Williamson. Lynn is the the director of Hub Outreach and Training, and Teresa Williamson is the Hub coordinator. Colleen Berkeley is our Director of Procurement Services. She most likely will not be in attendance today. Elizabeth Cooper, she's the Director of Technology Planning, Policy, and Governance, and she will cover some of our accessibility portion of this RFO. And then me, I'll be the procurement lead. So Tony, go ahead to the next slide, please. So today we'll give a brief overview of this RFO. We'll just go through the agenda. It'll be, we'll go through the RFO overview as well as the RFO contents. We'll go through the scope, the evaluation criteria, the term of the contracts we're hoping to award from this, as well as the RFO schedule, the hub guidelines and procedures, the pricing sheet and the instructions, as well as the electronic and information resources accessibility information. It won't be a extreme in-depth webinar into this RFO. It'll be just an overview of everything, and we can hopefully answer and address all y'all's questions and concerns. Will just be general information. Stephanie will go over the BidStamp vendor information system portal and the submission guidelines and what will be mandatory and required with your submissions. Hopefully it'll go pretty quickly and pretty smooth. We'll take a break towards the end, and then afterwards we'll address your questions. And I just want to remind you that any questions and answers today will be unofficial until they are posted to the ESBD as an addendum. Go ahead, Tony. So the purpose of this request for offer is to solicit responses from potential vendors to provide Lenovo branded products and services to the state of Texas, acting by and through the Department of Information Resources. This is not a solicitation for DIR to make procurements, but for procurements to go through DIR from other state agencies. It's a rebid of a 2016 RFO that was formerly titled CA Technologies and Lenovo branded products and related services. When we did the original pre-proposal notice for this, it had CA Technologies. However, we still have active contracts for CA Technologies, so it was decided to remove those. And going forward, it's just for Lenovo branded products and related services. And we're hoping to make multiple awards from this RFO. This is just some graphs regarding DIR's cooperative contract program, as well as the sales from the previous CA Technology and Lenovo branded products and services RFO. Over the past 3 fiscal years, we've managed almost 80 million in total sales from that RFO. So we're hoping this one, minus the CA Technologies, will be just as effective and efficient. So if you've seen the RFO on the ESBD, there are 10 bid packages to it. The first one is the RFO, and it's going to contain exhibits A, B, C, and D. The bid package 2 is going to be the products and service and pricing template. Bid package 3 is a DIR sample contract for the products and services. Bid package 4 is the standard terms and conditions that DIR implies. Bid package 5 will be the Edgar certificate form. Bid package 6 is the service agreement template. Bid package 7, 8, and 9 are going to be the accessibility portions of the RFO. And then the final bid package 10 is going to be the vendor references. As part of bid package 1, it will include portions, exhibits A, B, C, and D. It'll cover the BidStamp Vendor Information System portal, where all your submissions are going to go through. It'll cover the scope of this RFO, as well as the pricing instructions and how to submit those pricings. The submission requirements will be included. The evaluation, negotiations, and award that we hope to make from this will be included in that. Exhibit A is going to be the vendor information form. Exhibit B will be the vendor history and experience. And Exhibit C will be the contract marketing and support plan. And finally, Exhibit D will be the hub subcontracting. The term of any contract awarded from this RFO should be for 2 years, commencing on the last day of approval by DIR and the vendor. Any contract awarded from that will renew automatically in one optional 2-year renewal and one optional 1-year renewal under the same terms and conditions, unless either party provides notice to the other party 60 days in advance of the renewal date, stating that the party wishes to discuss modifications of terms or not to renew. This RFO was posted on April 21st to the ESBD, and any questions to be submitted are due by 5 p.m. on May 11th. And the deadline for submitting your proposal as well as your vendor references will be on June 4th. And then we hope to quickly turn around, evaluate, and start negotiating after June 4th. Section 4.1 of this RFO goes over the evaluation process. Incomplete responses packages will be rejected. The financial review and HSP review are on a pass-fail basis. Failure to provide a DUNS number may result in your response being disqualified. Only responses that receive the passing grade will proceed to the next evaluation phase. Section 4.2 describes the evaluation criteria. Products and service pricing, as well as vendor contract marketing support plan, are going to hold the most weight on this. We're hoping to encourage competitions, so we bump the vendor history and experience down to 20%, but the pricing will be at 45% and the contract support plan will be at 35%. Exhibit A of bid package 1. This will be the vendor information form and information. This form must be filled out in its entirety and signed by an officer or agent empowered to contractually bind the respondent. Complete canceled contract references, if applicable, are to be included as well. Exhibit B is the vendor history and experience. Respondents must provide a detailed response to each question detailing the vendor's history and experience in providing the products and services proposed. Exhibit C is the contract marketing support plan. Respondents must provide a plan that describes the respondent's or vendor's ability and strategy for promoting and supporting the contract if an award is to be made. Section 2 of the RFO describes the scope. DIR intends to contract with qualified vendors to provide Lenovo branded products and services to create a contract vehicle that satisfies statewide procurement requirements for Lenovo branded products and services and improves the efficiency of the procurement process by shortening the time required to procure Lenovo branded products and services. As I previously stated, this is not a RFO for DIR to make procurements, but for procurements to go through DIR. Third-party products may be proposed as an option and will be awarded at the discretion of DIR. Third-party products are those hardware, peripherals, accessories, and software by other manufacturers or publishers that may be used with Lenovo branded products, but not as standalone third-party offerings. Please also include related services if applicable, and related services or any value-added service the vendor may perform as related to the products proposed. Related services include, but are not limited to, product and operating system, image installation, deployment to customer location, maintenance and technical support, project management, managed services, product training, etc. For the Lenovo brand, we're looking at, but not limited to, desktops, laptops, tablets, smart devices, printers, servers, network supplies, related accessories, software and supplies applicable to each product category, devices and service applicable for the Lenovo brand, products manufactured, distributed, or licensed under the Lenovo brand name. Vendors are encouraged to bid any or all or any combination of the products or product categories listed in the scope of their proposal. Now we'll go over the hub subcontracting plan, and Lynn and Teresa will answer more of that information there.
All right, thank you, Doug. Exhibit D is the hub subcontracting plan, and all respondents are going to be required to submit a completed hub subcontracting plan through the portal. So it must be signed and completed, and it must be the entire hub subcontracting plan. We've had a few vendors who have submitted just the signed page, and that is not a completed and signed HSP. So make sure you're including all of the pages when you're submitting that through the portal. Next slide. So we encourage all respondents to seek and utilize hub certified vendors when responding to any of our RFOs. If you have any questions about where to locate hub certified companies, they can be found on the comptroller's website, and we can assist you with that. Responses without a completed hub subcontracting plan will be rejected and failed and disqualified. And again, all respondents must complete a hub subcontracting plan. Even if you are hub certified, you are still required to complete a hub subcontracting plan and complete that thoroughly and how you can best fulfill this contract. Next slide. The hub goal for this RFO is 21.1%. And there are 3 different ways in which you can complete your good faith effort on the hub subcontracting plan. And one of those is by meeting or exceeding this hub goal of 21.1%. So if you are going to meet or exceed the hub goal of 21.1%, that means you're going to complete sections 1, 2, 4, and then method A, attachment A, section A1 and A2. And you're going to complete a method A for every subcontracting opportunity that you have identified in section 2. And again, make sure you sign that and date that, include all the pages. We're asking that when you include that HSP, that for all the vendors, you need to include their VID numbers. So their EIN or State of Texas VID. If you'll just include that as one continuous number, no dashes, no extra punctuation in there, just one continuous string of numbers. Next slide. If you are going to subcontract and not meet the hub goal of 21.1%, that means you will complete sections 1, section 2, section 4, and then method B, attachment B. And that is a little more involved because then you will be required to solicit a minimum of 3 hub certified companies and 2 minority trade organizations. And you will be required to allow them up to 7 working days to respond to you prior to the due date of this RFO in your submittal. So if you don't give them that time, or if you fail to notify those hub vendors, or if you fail to notify the trade organizations, your HSP will fail and your bid response will be rejected. So you will have to go through those appropriate steps and methods to complete method B. Next slide. If you're not going to be subcontracting and you're going to self-perform this entire contract, then you will complete sections 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in section 3, you're going to provide your self-performance justification. And in section 3, you're going to tell us how you plan to perform with your company's own resources, employees, equipment, etc. Do not make any promises of should we be awarded the contract, we will look at subcontracting. Don't make any statements about we'll be self-performing most of it, but, and then include some kind of but clause in there. If you're going to self-perform, you have to perform the entire contract yourself, and that is what section 3 is for you to explain how you will do that. Do not refer to your response to say, see section whatever of our response and how we plan on self-performing, because we don't have access to that. So we cannot review that. So put that justification in section 3. And again, don't forget to sign and date section 4. So if you're going to self-perform, that is how you would complete that good faith effort method. Next slide. And I'm just going to go over a couple of key points here. We offer a complimentary cursory review for you prior to this RFO due date. So if you want us to look at your HSP, to review it, to tell you, yes, you have completed it correctly, or no, you have not, we will do that for you. And that will help you to avoid a situation where maybe you have submitted your HSP and you may have completed the wrong good faith effort method. There may be some clerical errors. We can catch those ahead of time. You can correct them, and we can let you know that you have completed that HSP correctly, or if you need to make corrections, we can let you know what those are. Please take us up on this, because we've had several vendors with the last few RFOs that we've had where we offer this same service every time. And we have had several vendors who do not take us up on our offer, and they have responded with incomplete HSPs. They've completed the wrong good faith effort methods, and their bid responses have failed, and they do not move forward to negotiations. They've missed that bid opportunity because of errors in part due to their hub subcontracting plans. So we are more than happy to take a look at that for you. You need to give us at least 7 working days prior to the due date of this RFO. So we have time to look at that and give you clarification if you need to do any clarification, and that gives you enough working time to get those errors corrected if there are any. So please take us up on that. Please ensure that you check your math. If you have identified you are going to have subcontracting opportunities in Section 2, make sure that if you say you're going to subcontract 21.1% in Section 2, that in your Method A, you have 21.1% hub participation identified. The total from that Method A needs to equate to what you've identified in Section 2. So 2 + 2 is 4. I don't care how you slice it, it's always going to be 4. So check your math. Make sure when you're providing those VID numbers, again, no punctuation, no dashes, just provide those numbers as one continuous number. We have a new bot that helps us check those vendors to see if they're hub certified or not, and that's going to assist us in that. So take us up on our cursory review. We're here to help you. If you would like to have a cursory review conducted, send it to the DIR email box. We've provided that on this slide. And if you have any questions regarding the HSP and how to complete it, you can ask those. So send those to the DIR email box as well. Next slide.
Thank you. At this portion, we're going to talk about bid package part 2, which is going to be the product and service pricing. This is going to be an Excel sheet. It's going to have 4 separate tabs. Tab 1 is going to be the instructions on how to enter in your information. Tab 2 is going to be the brand average sample, which is basically an overview of the brands and categories that you're offering. Tab 3 is going to be the products and services where you can put your line item information in. And tab 4 is going to be the volume discounts. That's going to be the discount offered on top of the DIR discount for any major volume procurements done through the contract. Enter prices for each item your company would like to offer to DIR customers within the applicable tabs. Vendors must also submit pricing on DIR's automated pricing form online in the BidStamp VIS portal. Do not enter service lines there. For certain products, such as commercial off-the-shelf and those with user interfaces, accessibility documents such as VPAT and the ACR documents must also be included to the price list Excel document. Also enter in the status for each product item. There's instructions on how to do all this. That's going to be on the first tab of that Excel sheet. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. The pricing sheet, which is going to be the tab 3, you're going to need the brand name, the category, subcategory, the functional product description, the part number, the specific part number so we can find and do cost comparisons, the MSRP list price, the discount percentage being offered to DIR, and the DIR customer price. And each one of these is already formulated in the spreadsheet, so you just enter in your information. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. And for the services pricing tab, we'll need the name of service being provided, details and description of the service, the list cost, the unit of measure, the discount percentage being offered to DIR, DIR customer price. Next slide. Bid package 3 and 4 are is the sample product and services contract, as well as DIR standard terms and conditions of this RFO, as well as any contract coming from it. Again, bid package 3 is the sample contract for product and services, and bid package 4 is the standard terms and conditions for products and services. No exceptions may be taken to certain areas as indicated on the standard terms and conditions, and you'll see that indicated on the bid package 4. And I want to give vendors caution that any respondent that has excessive exceptions or list non-negotiable exceptions may not be considered. As well as any exception must be listed in bid package 1, exhibit A, question 11. Please include any exception you want to take with your original proposal. If you do not indicate this on your original proposal, and then you want to come back and add it during the negotiation phase, it will not be considered. So make sure if there's anything that you take exception to that is indicated on your original response. Next slide, please. And now we're at the accessibility portion, and I'll hand that over to Elizabeth to give you more information there.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Cooper. I'm the Director of Technology Planning, Policy, and Governance. And EIR accessibility is a statewide responsibility that falls into the governance aspect of my program area. Next slide, please. A little bit of background. Subchapter M of the Texas Government Code 2054 and the Texas Administrative Code require state agencies and higher education to comply with requirements for providing employees, state employees, and the public who have accessibility issues with access to electronic and information resources when available under most circumstances. And so the agencies and the IHEs, DIR's customers and yours, when they're purchasing off of a cooperative contract, they will ask you for accessibility documentation. And so what DIR is looking for is evidence that you can provide credible accessibility documentation to them. And so we do this by reviewing, next slide, please, your accessibility conformance reports, which are created using the Voluntary Product Accessibility Template, the VPAT, the Vendor Accessibility Development Services Questionnaire, and the Policy-Driven Adoption Accessibility Template. So these are the documents in bid packages 7, 8, and 9 that we will be looking for in your submission. Next slide, please. So for the Lenovo branded products, we'll be looking for VPATs or accessibility conformance reports that come from the manufacturer. And so you should start by looking at the website. I threw that into the chat. If you're a reseller, you need to make sure that you're including them for your products. I believe the links to their website will be fine, and I think you'll be able to put those in the spreadsheet in bid package number 2. But if not, put them in a Word document, include those links. If it is a third party COTS, this is for the commercial off-the-shelf products that you are proposing under provision 2.2 in the RFO, you will need to provide VPATs for those as well, and actually would need to complete the template yourself if it is your product, or obtain it from the manufacturer if it's another third party. And my understanding is those third-party products are only for things that may be used with the Lenovo branded products. So I'm just trying to distinguish between the two. So go to Lenovo's website if that's what you're proposing. If it is that third-party product, make sure it has a complete VPAT. Next slide, please. If there are any related services that involve development services that are on this slide in bid package number 6, you will need to complete a vendor accessibility development services information request, or sometimes it's referred to as a questionnaire. So next slide, please. And then all submissions need to include the vendor accessibility policy-driven adoption accessibility form. And this is basically a self-assessment. And it really is an indicator if your company's thinking about accessibility, putting accessibility first, and it helps us determine if you're going to be able to provide credible accessibility documentation when customers buy off of the contracts. Next slide, please. And so there's some resources on this slide. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me at Elizabeth Cooper, elizabeth.cooper@dir.texas.gov about accessibility, of course.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Right now, we'll cover the general information and the bid submittal. Go ahead, Tony, go to the next slide, please. Just some general information. Reference the RFO page number and section numbers when you're submitting your questions. Webinar participants may submit questions electronically at any time during the webinar. Just please use the question tab. Questions answered today are tentative and unofficial until posted on the ESBD in the form of an addendum. So check the ESBD often for updates. All questions regarding this RFO must be submitted in writing through the BidStamp Vendor Information System portal by May 11th, 2021 at 5 p.m. There's several methods to get disqualified. Failure to sign vendor information form, which is Exhibit A. Failure to complete financial information, the DUNS number. Failure to complete a hub subcontracting plan. Failure to submit on or before the due date and time. Contact with DIR employees regarding this RFO, other than designated contacts, are all ways to get disqualified. Delivery of offers. Any vendor responding to this RFO must submit their response through the BidStamp Vendor Information System. Just to be wise, the BidStamp, if you do not have access could take up to 48, 72 hours. So if you plan to propose an offering for this RFO, get your BidStamp access done pretty quickly. You don't want to be doing that on the last day before the due date because you might not get access and your bid might not get in time. Tony, go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Vendors and all vendor representatives shall not attempt to discuss the contents of this RFO with any employees or representatives of DIR other than the designated contacts. Failure to observe this restriction may result in disqualification of any related response. I will be the procurement lead on this and the direct point of contact. My email here is doug.leach@dir.texas.gov. You could also, for BidStamp questions, you may contact Stephanie Harrison at stephanie.harrison@dir.texas.gov. And for your hub review and hub questions, you can contact Lynn Hottie at dir.hub@dir.texas.gov. Stephanie, would you want to cover the bid submittal portion?
Sure. My name is Stephanie Harrison, and we're going to talk about how do you get your proposal to DIR. So we have an online portal called the Vendor Information System, which is where you will go to create your account and to submit your responses to DIR. Any vendor submitting a response must submit through the Vendor Information System unless you have an ADA requirement. And then that, for those instances, you may reach out to Doug and we can make arrangements for that. Before you can submit anything through DIR, you must create an account. We are not going to talk about how to create the account. There is a YouTube video that is linked on our DIR home page under information for vendors. You scroll down, there is a video there on how to create your account. And as Doug mentioned, you want to create that well in advance because then you have to do a lot of things to get your response documents to us in time. So please watch that video. There is a user guide there for you all to help you walk you through that process. And if you have questions or you get hung up, you have issues, then you please reach out. But that's how you get your account set up. If you've already set up a account with us before, it's the same account login and the same account access. You'll just need to look for the new the RFO for Lenovo. If you're brand new to it, you've never set up a VIS account with DIR, you have to get your credentials. And that's a manual review process on our back end to set up those credentials for you, which is why you need to give some lead time in order for that to take place. Next slide, please. If you are a person with any sort of disability that will not allow you to submit through our BidStamp portal, please reach out to Doug. He's the point of contact for this RFO, and his contact information is listed in section 3.1. Please allow 5 business days for a response so we can figure out the accommodation for you all and get back with you for a formal response. Next slide, please. Responding to solicitation. After you have your account enabled, you will have access to our vendor information systems portal. Once you go into the portal, this is what your screen will look like. It has my account, open solicitations, my responses, vendor information about DIR and contact DIR are all tabs that take you back out to the DIR website. The top 3 tabs there are tabs that are within your vendor login. Next slide, please. So what you'll want to do is once you have your account set up, you'll want to go to the open solicitations. Next slide. That'll take you to a screen that lists all of the solicitations that are currently open and available for you to respond to. The solicitation for Lenovo is DIR-CPO-TMP-554, and it'll also have the name, which is Lenovo branded products and related services. You'll want to click on that. Next slide, please. And that'll take you to the specific page for that RFO. This is a sample page, so it doesn't have all the correct numbers on it, but it gives you the general idea of how you walk through submitting your response. The information in there is mirrored information from what is on the Electronic State Business Daily, which is where all the official posting documents are. This section will show you the RFO start date, when the questions are due to be submitted, and when the RFO responses are due. The vendor conference is being held today, and then it has the anticipated deadline of when DIR expects to have the addendum completed with the RFO, with the questions that we received today and throughout the question submittal period. And that's a tentative date, but it will be posted on the ESBD and an addendum. Okay. So how do you create a response? You want to respond to solicitation or a view response. That button, so what I'm doing here, I'm walking you through some buttons on that page, and then we'll actually show you what those look like. So in order to respond to a solicitation or view a response, you want to click on that. That creates a new response or view a response that is in progress. So if you haven't started, it'll say create. Once you have started your response, that button, you go back into it, that button will change to view response and allow you to resume your process on any existing RFO response up until the date and time of submission due. Once it passed that date and time of submission due, that you will not have access to this page any longer. The Ask a Question button allows you to submit questions to be reviewed by DIR. Those will come into Doug, and he is the point person that receives those questions. Questions can be submitted up until the question submission deadline date and time, as indicated in the RFO document and on the detail page. Subscribe to solicitation button allows you to follow the progress of a solicitation. If you'd like to receive addendum notifications, and it lets you know, what's going on in the solicitation. Very, very broad, high-level stuff like addendum added on this date, addendum added on this date, solicitation closed type stuff, and that's just to receive notifications through your portal. View solicitation documents is a link back to the electronic state business daily for the official posting documents and this solicitation view of those documents. Next slide, please. These are the buttons that we were talking about. So once you've gone in and started a response, this is the screen that'll come up. You have delete, submit, ask a question, create pricing form, and that add subcontracting form is no longer actually a button that's available on there. So you will just have those top 4 buttons to utilize. Now, please pay attention, as these are the first 2 buttons are very, very important buttons. The delete button actually deletes your entire response record before the response has been submitted. So if you start a response and you decide for whatever reason that you're actually not going to submit it and you would like to delete it, this is the same as if you you're not going to submit anything to us, and if you want to respond, you have to go in and start over. Once the response has been submitted, that button will change from delete to withdrawn, and then you can withdraw your response if you don't want it to move forward for consideration. Submit. That actually submits your entire response to DIR. Once you submit a response, the only way to make changes to that response is to withdraw and start over. So again, those 2 buttons are very important because they make big changes to your response record. The Ask a Question button is valid up through the date and time. You will be able to see the questions that your agency submits in a list. You won't be able to see the questions that everybody submits until those come out in the addendum. But all of your Ask a Question button, anything that your agency submits in, it'll kind of keep a running log for you down at the bottom. The add a subcontracting form. Okay, so let me backtrack on this. We're not going to use the hub subcontracting form button. If it is there, you're actually just going to load the hub subcontracted document, as Lynn explained earlier. The button's supposed to be disabled at this point, though, but I do need to check and make sure that it's actually been disabled. The create a pricing form, if you're submitting your pricing through our portal, you would use that form. I believe on this particular RFO, you're actually going to use the spreadsheet and not have to go in and use the pricing form. I'll have to clarify that in just a moment. The new RFO response documents. So these are all the exhibits that you're filling out, signing those that need to be signed, and scanning them and uploading them to our portal. So this is going to include the your exhibits A, B, C, your hub subcontracting plan, your bid package 2, and any other documentation, your accessibility documentation, all of the forms that you would normally save to a thumb drive and bring to us, or print out and put in a binder and bring to us. All of those forms are going to be loaded into your RFO response documents. The upload fields, they have limitations on what you can name them. So you can't have like any characters in the document name, no symbols in the document name, or it won't load the document. So our best recommendation is to name the document what it is if it's Exhibit A, and name it Exhibit A and load it. We don't need a really long drawn out name. We just need to be able to find that you responded with all of the response required documents that are listed out in the RFO. Vendor references. If the RFO requires you to have vendor references, DIR has a courtesy document that we load here, and you're able to send that out from BidStamp to your for your references. It does not track whether or not those are returned to us. Whoever receives the reference request needs to follow instructions on that and send that back in. However, you have the option to send it to them and email it to them directly. This is just a courtesy part for that. Next slide, please. All right. And looks like this is back to Doug to go over the mandatory submission requirements.
Thank you, Stephanie. So section 3.7.1 of the RFO lists the mandatory response contents and what's going to be required with your proposal. Respondent must provide the items listed below or the response will be rejected. So the vendor information, Exhibit A, must be signed. Exhibit A also, if it is applicable, any canceled contracts as part of attachment 1 and 2 of Exhibit A. Exhibit B, which is the vendor history and experience, must be included. Exhibit C, which is the contract marketing and support plan, how you plan to promote and market the DIR contract if awarded. The hub subcontracting plan must be signed. Bid package 2 also must be included, which is going to be the pricing and services. Line item Excel sheet. Vendor services or licensing agreements. Please include those with your original proposal, as they might not be considered if during the time of negotiation. Bid package 5, which is your EDGAR certification form, and any addendum requirements posted to the ESBD also need to be included as well. Please check the ESBD regularly, as vendors do not receive notice of any addendum or updates to this RFO. Next slide, please. And at the moment, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll answer some of your questions and hopefully clarify what we can before we close out this webinar. Thank you.
Okay, it is 11:28 and we are returning from our break. We will run through the questions, and my apologies, I didn't turn on the anonymous flag, but I think we should be okay. We will run through the questions and our staff will answer to the best of their ability, but they can choose to deliberate and pass on a question if it's too involved. So the first question we have is, should we resubmit anything previously emailed?
Yes, if it's applicable to their proposal or submission, yes, you should submit anything that's been previously emailed as part of your response.
Okay. Next question, will a list of attendees of this pre-proposal webinar be shared, including attendee affiliation?
Yes, a list of the attendees will be posted as addendum to this RFO pretty quickly on the ESBD.
Thanks, Doug. Regarding the cursory review, is this review offered to Hub certified vendors when they are the primary contract bidder as well?
Yes, any respondent that is completing an HSP can contact us for the cursory review.
Will DIR allow pricing as discount off publicly verifiable price index as well as discount off of MSRP?
The pricing will be a discount off MSRP or discount off of list pricing. Since it's a Lenovo branded, all the MSRP should be coming specifically from Lenovo.
Right. Is ESBD different than BidStamp?
Yes, BidStamp is unique specifically to DIR and your proposal and submission to DIR. ESBD is Electronic State Business Daily. That's a comptroller. It's the comptroller's website, and that's where all of the state solicitations and major state procurements are listed. So for this proposal and any response, we'll need to go through BidStamp, but all of the RFO and RFO addendum will be posted through the ESBD.
Okay. Can a list of attendees to this pre-solicitation meeting be mailed out to all attendees for potential partnership or subcontracting?
The list of attendees will be posted to the ESBD as addendum. I don't believe it'll be mailed out.
Okay. With regard to Lenovo products, with regard to Lenovo type products, I haven't been able to find a listing of specific Lenovo hardware, make, model, or even form factor. What type or range of Lenovo products is this RFO intending? Thank you.
As far as the listing of specific Lenovo, that will all go through Lenovo. They should have their product list, but we're looking for any product that falls under the Lenovo brand name and any service that's applicable to that product.
Okay. I am logged in the BidStamp vendor portal. I do not see any solicitations listed on the open solicitations page. How do I obtain access to see the open solicitations?
That will be activated after this webinar. So
Okay.
after a little later on today, you should be able to see the open solicitations.
Okay. If we respond with no canceled contracts in Exhibit A, vendor information, Section B, do we include Attachment 1 and Attachment 2 indicating not applicable, or do we remove them from our submission?
Please include them as not applicable. That way your submission is complete. Just indicate no canceled contracts and not applicable on Attachment 1 and 2.
Right. And the last question, if not already asked, please confirm submission date.
Submission date, all responses and vendor references must be received by 2 p.m. Central Time on June 4th.
I do want to clarify that on the BidStamp VIS system, it will actually cease accepting responses at that particular time and date. And as such, if you are trying to submit anything at 2:01, your response will not be submitted. So please make sure that you have given yourself enough time to ensure that any errors or troubleshooting or anything that you might need assistance on will you have time to work through that. If you're waiting until the very last minute to submit, the system will time out and you will not be able to submit after 2 p.m. on the due date. So please plan accordingly.
Thank you, Stephanie. And again, if you have any questions, continue to post it in the Q&A and our staff will get to it. Do we get a copy of this recording and presentation?
This will also be posted as an addendum to the ESBD. So it will be accessible there.
Great. If there are no other questions, I think we're good. Hold on, one more question just came through. Please provide the link form. Please provide the link form the submission. For the submission. Please provide the link for the submission. Are you asking the submission through the BidStamp portal? Yes.
So you have to go and create your account in accordance with the directions on the information for vendors page on DIR. So down at the bottom, there is a guide that walks you through how to create your account, as well as in a video. It shows you the places to go on the DIR website in order to do that. And then once your account is created, then you can start submitting the documents to the response. That link to the solicitation within the BidStamp portal will be live this afternoon.
Great, thank you, Stephanie. I think that's about it. If there are any other questions, again, please submit it to DIR and we will happily answer it. Thank you for joining us this morning. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.